Session 662. Good evening. Good evening, Seth. Now, dictation. Most criminals, in or out of prison, share a sense of powerlessness and a feeling of resentment because of it. Therefore, they seek to assure themselves that they are indeed powerful through antisocial acts, often of violence. They desire to be strong, then, while believing in a lack of personal strength. They have been conditioned, and furthermore have conditioned themselves, to believe that they must fight for any benefits. Aggression becomes a method of survival. Since they believe so strongly in the power of others and in their own relative powerlessness, they feel forced into aggressive actions almost as preventative measures against greater violence that will be done against them. They feel isolated and alone, unappreciated, filled with rage, which is being constantly expressed, in many cases, though not all, through a steady series of minor social crimes. This applies whether or not major crimes are committed, so the simple expression of aggression without understanding does not help. In the case of criminals and their belief systems, aggression has a positive value. It becomes a condition for survival. Many other characteristics that might mitigate such behavior are minimized and can be seen as dangerous by them. They believe, and then it got interrupted by a phone call. So now I will skip down here. Now, dictation. You isolate the criminal element, therefore, in an environment in which any compensations are refused. The entire framework of a prison, with its bars, is a constant reminder to the convict of his situation and reinforces his original difficulty. Any normal home life is denied him, and along with the overall concentration upon the problem at hand, all other stimuli is purposely held to a minimum. In their ways, the warden and guards subscribe to the same set of beliefs as that held by their prisoners. The ideal of force and power is insinuated on both sides, and each believes the other its enemy. The guards are certain that the incarcerated are the dregs of the earth and must be held down at all cost. Both sides accept the concept of human aggression and violence as a method of survival. The prisoner's energies are usually used in boring, innocuous tasks, even though some attempt is made to provide vocational training in many institutions. Both prisoners and officials, however, take it for granted that most of those now behind bars will return time and time again. The confined project their personal problems out upon the society. Society returns. That didn't make sense. The confined project, I'm always saying project and project wrong. The confined project their personal problems out upon the society. Society returns the favor. In the same way, individuals often think of certain characteristics as animal or evil and attempt to isolate those portions from other areas of their own activity. Power or the lack of it and the attitudes surrounding either mode are often involved. Remember Augustus in the case mentioned earlier in this book? Augustus felt powerless, considering power in terms of aggression and violence, so he isolated that portion of himself from himself and projected it into a second self. Only when this second self became operative could he display any power. Because his basic concept held aggressiveness and power as one, however, then the strength to act automatically meant the strength to be aggressive, and here aggression was equated with violence. Now in its way that was a transference of a problem in a unique manner. The need to act and to be in control of action is paramount in conscious beings. Augustus therefore actually created from himself a position of power from which he could, at least for a while, operate. He had to pretend amnesia so as to hide this mechanism from himself. As long as power is equated with violence, then you will feel it necessary to regulate normal aggression in your behavior, and considering power as violent, you will be afraid to act to some extent. You will then consider goodness and powerlessness to be somewhat synonymous and equate power with evil. Not wanting to face such evil in yourself, you may then direct it outward and transfer it to another area. As a society, you may project it upon the criminal, as a nation upon a foreign country. As an individual, you may place this power upon an employer, a labor union, or any other segment of society. In whatever area you choose, though, you will feel relatively weak in comparison with the strength that you have projected outward. You meet your own denied power, you see, whenever you find yourself in a situation where you feel weak in comparison to another person or situation that frightens you. Power does not basically imply superiority over. There is the power of love, for example, and the power to love. Both imply great action and vitality, and an aggressive thrust that has nothing to do with violence. Yet many people have physical symptoms or suffer unpleasant situations because they are afraid to utilize their own power of action and equate power with aggression, meaning violence. Such feelings arouse artificial guilt. The individual who speaks out most loudly for the death penalty feels that he himself should really be condemned to death to pay for the great aggression within him that he dares not express. The criminal or murderer being executed dies for the evil within each member of his society then, and a magical transference takes place. Love is propelled by all the elements of natural aggression, and it is powerful. Yet because you have made such divisions between good and evil, love appears to be weak and violence strong. This is reflected in many levels of your activity. The devil becomes a powerful evil figure, for example. Hate is seen as far more efficient than love. The male in your society is taught to personify aggressiveness with all of those antisocial attitudes that he cannot normally demonstrate. The criminal mind expresses these for him, hence the ambiguous attitudes on the part of society in which renegades are often romanticized. The detective and his criminal wear versions of the same mask. Following such ideas, you end up with segregations in which the ill, being powerless, are isolated, the criminals are kept together, and the old are held in institutions or in cultural ghettos with their own kind. Transference of personal problems are all involved here, and clusters of beliefs. The criminal element represents the individual's own feared and unfaced aggressions. These fears are closeted on an individual basis, and those people who express them socially are imprisoned. The enforced incarceration of violent men often leads to a riot, and the private closeting of normal aggression often brings psychological rioting, an outburst of physical symptoms. In all cases, little effort is made to understand the basic problems beneath, and the social segregations merely build up the pressure, so to speak, so that those with like beliefs are kept in situations that only perpetuate the basic causes. Unknowingly, the sick often give up their power to act in a healthy manner to the physicians. The doctors accept this mandate since they share the same framework of belief. So the medical profession obviously needs patients as badly as the ill need the hospitals. Society as you know it, not understanding the nature of normal aggression, considers it violent. The prisons and law enforcement agencies need criminals in the same way that criminals need them, for they operate within the same system of belief. Each accepts violence as a method of behavior and survival. If you do not understand that you create your own reality, then you may assign all good results to a personified God and need the existence of a devil to explain the undesirable reality. So churches, as they now exist in Western society, need a devil as well as a God. Natural aggression is simply the power to act. Your own attitude about these issues will tell you much about yourself and influence your own personal reality. If you equate power with youth, then you isolate the elderly, transferring upon them your own rejected powerlessness, and they will seem to be a threat to your well-being. If you agree that violence is power, then you will punish the criminal with great vindictiveness, for you will see life as a power struggle, and will concentrate upon the acts of violence about which you read. This may bring such aspects into your personal life so that you yourself meet with violence, hence deepening your conviction. If you accept the basic ideal that evil is more powerful than good, then your beneficial acts will bear little fruit because of your own framework. You assign such small power of action to them. There are many subsidiary beliefs connected to these convictions. They can all work in such a way that you deny yourself the use of your abilities, and this in turn causes you to project them outward upon others. If you accept the idea that knowledge is bad, for instance, then in line with that belief, all of your efforts to learn will be futile or bring you great discomfort. You will not trust any knowledge that comes easily, for you will feel that you have to do penance for the attainment of any wisdom. Fundamental interpretations of the Bible often lead to such conclusions, so that the pursuit of knowledge itself, which has a built-in biological impetus, becomes a taboo activity. You must then project wisdom onto others and reject it in yourself, or be faced with a dilemma in personal values. Throughout the ages, monks, priests, and religious organizations have become segregated from the rest of humanity. They have been alternately honored and feared, loved and hated. Their knowledge has been envied and yet held in superstitious awe. The voodoo and the healer, the witch doctor and the priest are all held in honor, yet are also looked upon with a certain terror because of the power and knowledge involved. The man who heals or the man who curses. The man who heals or the man who curses both imply a power of knowledge to many individuals. To those who are caught up with fundamental ideas in pious terms, religious power is a frightening thing. Normal aggression seen as evil is therefore segregated within the self and also seen everywhere outside. Some individuals will make artificial divisions within their own lives in which it is safe to act in certain areas, but dangerous in others. If you believe that wealth is evil, as an example, you automatically rob yourself of any ability that might bring you riches. Talents that are accepted as good in themselves may be inhibited simply because their fulfillment might lead to success in financial terms. Your beliefs then are highly important in the way in which you handle the power of personal action. The use of your private energy brings you into intimate relationship with your own source of power. Healing involves great natural aggressive thrust of energy, growth, and the focus of vitality. The more powerless you feel, the less able you are to utilize your own healing abilities. You are then forced to project those outward upon a physician, a healer, or any outside agency. If your own belief in the physician works and you are cured of symptoms, you are physically relieved. And yet your own belief in yourself may be further infringed upon if you are making no effective efforts to handle your own problems. Then the symptoms will simply reappear in a new fashion, and the same process will be reinitiated. You may lose faith in your doctors, while still retaining confidence in doctors as a whole, and run from one to another. But the body has its own integrity, and illness is often simply a natural sign of imbalance, a physical message to which you are to listen and make inner adjustments accordingly. When these realignments are always made from the outside, the body's innate coherence becomes jeopardized and its intimate relationship with mind confused. More, its natural healing powers are dulled. The built-in initiating triggers of reactions that are meant to follow inner stimuli are activated instead by exterior means. The individual's faith is transferred more and more to an outside agency. This usually means that no time is allowed for necessary inner dialogues of self-questioning, and the self-healing that might otherwise occur is brought about through belief in another. This can only go on for so long, however. I am dealing here mainly with Western culture. In some other civilizations, and particularly in the past as you think of it, witch doctors operated within a context of nature accepted by all. The witch doctor, while initiating natural forces on behalf of his patient, who seemed momentarily unable to do so, was then returning the patient to the source of himself and reviving his own buried sense of power. That is the source of physical life, the sense of power and action. When a man or a woman feels powerless as you think of it, he or she will die. The point of power, again, is in the present, when your non-physical self merges with corporal reality. The recognition of that fact alone can revitalize your life. In your terms, you are in a state of evolution as a species. Part of the experience includes a natural fascination with exterior events. You are developing properties of consciousness that are in their own way uniquely your own, as your environment is. A strong focus is a necessary counterpart, since you are involved in a learning process in which all elements inherent in the situation will be explored. Throughout this venture, however, you are, in the dream state, always kept in touch with the realities from which your physical experience springs. As you understand time, you will eventually be able to merge your inner comprehension with your physical self and form your world on a conscious basis. Such manuscripts as mine are meant to help you do precisely that. The more involved you become with complicated physical organisms, the more energy you project outward, and the more entranced you become with exterior manifestations. In itself, this was and is a natural learning method. Your inner life is being translated into corporal reality. As you perceive it and relate to it, you began to question first its origin and then its meaning. This leads you back into yourself and to a recognition of your own abilities. What you now create unconsciously, your species will create consciously. The infinite abilities of consciousness become individualized, focused into a particular reality which then becomes expanded. Your own temporal creations add to the abilities with which you made them. You learn through your creations. Mind, as physically directed, utilizes the greatest sources of power and energy along with unlimited aspects of creativity, so that each physical day is indeed absolutely unique. You cannot expect any portion of your environment to remain static, therefore, and the condition of your body is constantly in a state of flux and change. Your social structure, from the largest metropolis to the smallest farm, from the wealthiest areas to the poorest ghettos, from the monasteries to the prisons, reflects the inner situation of the individual self and the personal beliefs that each of you hold. If you utilize the point of power properly, you will feel the non-physical energy translated into effective personal power through your intersection with flesh. You will be able to use that power consciously, with purpose, to change your personal experience, and so to change the social framework at least partially. Such exercises aid in the evolution of your consciousness and will also serve you in fashions that you may not suspect. The acquiescence to your own power will automatically flow through your experience, activating your dream life as well, and providing additional helpful impetus to your waking reality. You will no longer need to transfer your sense of power to others. All of the exercises given earlier in this book are prerequisites, however. They are necessary so that you understand how the point of power is to be used. The recognition of personal feelings and the working through of beliefs, all of this will expand your understanding of yourself. If you hate a parent, for example, you cannot use the point of power to tell yourself that you love the parent instead. The earlier exercises will have helped you understand the reasons for the hate. You cannot use the point of power to gain control over another, for your own beliefs will automatically trap you. In any case, you must be aware of your own power and believe that you are worthy of it. Many of the previous chapters in this book have been written precisely to convince you of your own worth. You have been told to experience your feelings and not to deny them, so you are not to use the point of power as an attempt to refute the reality of your emotions at any given time. As you understand the nature of natural hypnosis, you will no longer feel the need to generate new negative feelings. Your load of inhibitions will recede. As you trust yourself more, you will naturally express your feelings, and their suppression will not bring about an explosive reactions anymore. They will come and go. The channel to power will be opened more clearly. Attention to your own stream of consciousness is highly important. This alone will help you see in what areas you are denying impulses or giving yourself directions that lead to powerlessness. The point of power exercise is meant to familiarize you with your own energy and your ability to direct it. The natural hypnosis exercises allows you greater effectiveness in directing and focusing that power. Each of you must work from the point of your own reality. There is no other way, period. If you feel filled with rage, then do not say, "I am filled with peace," and expect results. You will only be blanketing your feelings and inhibiting your energy and power. If you are furious, then beat a pillow and experience the rage, but without violence to another. Work it through until you are physically exhausted. If you do this honestly, the reasons for the fury will come to you, and they will often be quite obvious. You simply do not want to face them. In almost all cases of this kind, your feelings will represent a sense of powerlessness on your part, where you delegated strength to a situation or an individual and felt your effort futile in contrast. Then use the point of power and feel the energy of your own being surge through your experience. The knowledge of your own power releases you from all fears and hence of all rage. End of session. A fond good evening to you both, then, in your point of power and ours. Thank you, Seth. Good night.